So without further ado, please help me welcome to the main stage right now. Put your hands together for one and only James Marsters. Which one do you want? It's up to you.
I'll be here.
All right.
Hey, beautiful people.
Hey.
Hell yeah. So I just want to say, you guys can ask me anything that you want. Like, if you want to try to embarrass me, bring it. It's impossible. I don't necessarily promise to answer anything that you ask, but you can try. So, yeah.
I love that, issuing a challenge right off
Yeah.
the jump.
Yeah, I'm shameless, man.
I love
There's
it,
no
man.
way you're going to embarrass
Well,
me.
thank you so much for joining us this weekend here.
Yeah.
I know we've talked a moment backstage. You already mentioned that you've been here in Chicago. You've performed theater here in Chicago. What does this city mean to you when you get to visit this place?
Chicago saved me.
Oh, I would love to hear about this.
Yeah, I went to college in Manhattan at Juilliard, and I'd been acting since I was 10 years old, but I went to they say that now Juilliard is a good program, and I believe them, and I've talked to people who've gone through the program now, and they loved it. Yeah. Back when I went there, it was like the low point, so it was horrible, yeah. And they told me, they kicked me out after 2 years, and they told
you out.
Oh yeah, and they said, stop acting, you're no good, and you got to quit before you get bitter. And I was like, guys, I've done like 30 plays before I met you people, and I was doing real well before that happened. So I think I'm going to go back to what I was doing before I make that decision. Thank you very much. But it was in the late 80s, and so I get out of that, and I try to break into New York theater, but all of this, like the smaller theaters, the smaller professional theaters, the entry-level stuff, was gone. It was a wasteland in the 80s because all of the real estate prices were so high in the 80s that those places couldn't pay their rent. And it was, there were no props shops left in Manhattan for Broadway. There was only one rehearsal space. There was nothing. So I just spent a couple years bartending, and kind of the dream was starting to slip away.
So there were just like no opportunities in theater at that time in New York?
No, man. There was the big Broadway shows, and there was nothing else. And
No off-Broadway, nothing?
no. Well, I mean, when you say nothing or never, you're really treading
Right.
on thin ice on that. But
Okay.
there was not enough for me to break in.
Got
That's
it.
for sure.
So you're bartending.
And so yeah, and then my girlfriend, who became my first wife and producing partner later on, she just comes to me and she says, it ain't happening here, man. I'm out. And I'm reading things that says Chicago is where it's at. And I'm out. So I'm going to Chicago. If you want to come, you can join me. If you don't want to come, bye. So I followed her out.
Yeah.
And I discovered a town that was just bubbling with theater. It was all over the place. I hope it's still like that. Just because of Steppenwolf, you guys have the best theater in the world. That company is amazing, and they started in a church basement. So all of my actor friends just said, guys, if Steppenwolf can start in a church basement, let's go find a church basement and let's start a play. Yeah. And so it was just fomenting all around. And I did a play called Lysistrata 2411 AD at the Center Theater up in Rogers Park. And it's a Greek comedy about the war between Athens and Sparta. Troy. Anyway, the Peloponnesian War. Anyway, men are fighting again, and the women are sick of it, and they tell the men, no making love until you guys stop fighting. And the men are like, we don't need you, but give it a few weeks, and they're like, let's make peace, Yeah. And so it's this wonderful comedy. But like every Greek play, it's designed to be performed with a phallus. We all know what that is, right? How many kids are in the audience right now?
So, yeah,
Seriously, show of hands. Okay, cool. So the Greeks designed it so that the actors strap on a phallus. And when you have the guts to do that, and you're doing a play where you're two soldiers, and the scene is, so how you doing? I'm fine. I'm fine. You're not tense? Nope, not tense at all. I'm good. It's pretty funny if you don't have the phallus. Everyone gets it. But if you're wearing that thing, it's just laugh, 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 laugh. And it's the only Chicago would have the courage to do it like the Greeks had the courage to do it. And that's how I started, you know. And then I got cast at the Goodman right after that.
When you
and
have
I
to
was
start
just
like
off to
that,
the races.
and you're having to do something that's so like brazen, it kind of really toughens you and makes you like up for anything.
That's the thing. Like I had done professional plays before that, but I really started going professionally in Chicago, and that was just my normal. And a lot of the reason that Spike was so shameless and just out there is like I'm a Chicago theater actor. That's where it all came from, and I love Chicago theater. You guys think, and you're right. You have the best theater in the world. Broadway doesn't touch what's going on in Chicago. Wow. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear how much Chicago means to you. And I mean, obviously, to be back here this weekend has to bring up so many amazing memories for you. Yeah. So when you got your start in theater, how old were you when you started acting in theater?
Well, I mean, I was 10 when I started.
Okay.
Professionally, after I got out at, Julia was 22, 24.
Well, the reason I ask is because, you know, some people struggle to find who they are and what they want to be, but you started, like you said, at 10 years old. So you've always known that entertaining, performing, it was the life for you. How did you discover that?
I had not a great childhood, so I had an unhealthy family, and I just remember I was doing a play called The Me That Nobody Knows, which was actually a really good play. It was just coming off of Broadway, and it was inner city kids writing monologues about their life, and then professional Broadway songwriters writing a song about that. So you'd go out and you'd do a monologue that hit well because it was written by someone who lived that, and then sing a song about that. And that's the whole play. So, I mean, I'm like a 10-year-old suburban kid doing this. You know, we all are. But it's a good script. And I'm out on the apron, which is the part of the stage that is closest to the audience. And I'm singing to the audience. Light sings all over the world. And it occurs to me that the audience and myself and everyone backstage are basically in the same room. Like there are these divisions. There's the curtains, there's the stage, but those are false. And we're all doing our part to come together and have a good time together. Yeah. And there was just this sense of connection that really bit me. And I felt part of something, part of a group in a healthy way. And to this day, that's what I love. Yeah.
There's something like magical and something so fulfilling about live performing.
Yeah.
And it's such a big part of your life, not only with acting, but also with music.
Well, also with conventions, frankly.
Absolutely.
Because conventions are one of the few places where we all come together to talk to each other in 3 dimensions, you know? Like, we come together, but we're watching a movie or maybe a concert, and we're all staring not at each other, you know, at something else. But conventions, we actually, like, hang out and get to know each other. And that is that sense of connection that bit me in the first place. It's one of the reasons I'm so happy when I'm at a convention.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because, you know, it's one of the places where you get to not only connect with your fans on a one-on-one level, but you really get to just have this deep-seated connection where we get to share so many memories about the project that you've done. Or do you have any fan...
I feel like, by the way,
no,
I feel like, I'm the ambassador of a really good show, of more than one really good show, and I love talking about them. But I also feel like I'm the bait. Like, I'm just here to get people to buy the entry ticket so that the magic can happen, because the magic is really when the fans get to know each other, when they form a friendship at a convention. Because I was coming to conventions when I was 13 years old dressed as Spock, right? And the girls liked me because I had the best communicator at the convention. My dad helped me build it, and I was popular for the first time in my life, and I was just like, this is amazing. So I remember the talkbacks with Leonard Nimoy and the cast. I remember like getting an autograph when I could afford it. That was great. But what I really remember, the magic for me in that memory, is meeting other people at the convention.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best parts and the magic of these conventions is the sense of community. And even though we all have our individual fandoms, we're all here together to celebrate and lift each other up and just become one. It's such a beautiful family. And every city we go to, it's the same thing. We're all here to just share our love for these different entities, these different franchises, these different characters, and to get to meet you in real time and ask you the questions that we've been dying to ask. It's such a privilege for us to get to speak to you, to meet you, to get your autograph, or even just to take a selfie and be like, hey, I met Spike, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's so weird. Like, when I go home and I talk about myself, my friends are like, shut up, man. Talk about yourself all the time. But then I go to a convention, like, tell us more.
Well, obviously, we have so many fans here. We definitely want to get to some of these fan questions. I could sit here and chat with you all day, and maybe we'll catch up a little bit later. But we do have an audience mic if you guys want to step on up. We have someone here to break the ice. Hi, what's your name, and what's your question?
My name is Nicole, and first of all, I just want to say Shadow Puppets is highly underrated. I absolutely love that movie.
The head of 20th Century Fox casting told me, you get one of those, James. If you make another one, you will never work in this town again.
And secondly, I don't know if you can talk about it, but can you tell us anything about the continuation of Buffy?
You know, in specifics, I probably shouldn't talk about it. In general, what I will say is that there are some very talented people that are going to be working on this. Sarah chose very well. Chloe Zhao is one of the most talented director-writers in Hollywood right now. She did a film called Nomadland, which is streamable, and it's an independent drama, and it is amazing. And she also directed a Marvel movie. So she knows character, she knows story, she knows drama, and she knows special effects and stunts and all. She's a perfect person to direct the pilot. And then the Zuckermans are a female team that are going to be the showrunners for the show if it goes to series, and it's going to go to series. Their show right now is Poker Face, which is one of the best shows on television. So, like, the pedigree on this thing is just phenomenal. Every screenwriter in Los Angeles is a Buffy fan. So there is a feeding frenzy of all writers are trying to get on that show. So they're going to have their pick of the best. So it's going to be awesome.
And also, too, you and Charisma were great in Supernatural.
Thank you. Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for your question.
That's when I realized that Charisma was a nice person, by the way. I had no idea. A good actor will fool you, and that you'll think that they're like their character. And so I thought she was that popular cheerleader type. And I'm a punk rocker, and I knew that if I talked to her on the Buffy set, I was going to get myself fired. So I avoided her like the plague. And we finally got to know each other when we did Supernatural, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I've been judging you for so long. Oh, my God, you're just a wonderful person. She's like, yeah, I was wondering why you never came around.
All right. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Susie. I'm a big fan of shows that have leads, that have like chemistry. Like I was a big fan of Castle and Star Trek Enterprise, and as the seasons went on, I saw the chemistry you had with Sarah Michelle Gellar. My question is, was that organic, where you two just had that even from the beginning, or is that something you can act? Because later on, I heard on Castle that the two leads hated each other, and I was like heartbroken. And I'm like, is that something you can act, or is that something that
Obviously, I guess, yeah. I will say, first of all, if anyone but Sarah Michelle Gellar had played Buffy, we never would have made 7 seasons. It would have collapsed because we worked up to 20 hours a day, which is unheard of. Like, almost every show will film 12 hours a day because after 12 hours, you have to pay the crew double. So they don't want to do that. Buffy had enough money, and we were doing a very complicated show. So we were doing 16, 18, and often 20-hour days. Sarah was in almost every scene. Like, I was in about a quarter of the scenes, and I felt like they burnt me to ash. Sarah was always on time. She always had a great attitude. She always knew her lines perfectly. She always met her marks. She was a monster. If I had been Buffy, I'd have had a nervous breakdown under that workload and the pressure. She just bore it all effortlessly. And I think that she appreciated that I always knew my lines too, frankly. You know, like she was always on her game and I was always on mine. And so we just kind of met in the middle of that. That was the first thing. It was like, oh, good. We're going to be, you know, like, I don't have to work too hard because we're going to get it done together. So it was always, we got it done pretty quickly. And when you're not making it too hard for yourself and you're prepared, you can have fun, basically. So that helped a lot, too. And she's just also, she's an amazing person. So, like, we always got along really well. And I think that translates. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
So it's more organic between the two of you versus, you know, could somebody walk off on the stage with you today and you could make it look like you had chemistry with them? Or is that something you have to know that person and be friends with them and have an idea who they are as a human being before you could do that? Because I've heard, like...
It's a really good question. Yeah, like I think when you're talking about chemistry, you're talking about that the two actors are able to make something organic together that they didn't necessarily plan on, that there's something real happening between those people. And I think that to do that, the trick is that you have to listen to the other actor and pay it. Don't think about yourself so much and think about the other character and what you want to get out of them or what you want to give them. And I think that you can get there with any actor, but if you get along with that person in real life, it's probably easier to get there, if that makes sense. So like I often hear that from directors a lot, of anyone I'm working with. You guys have such great chemistry. I'm like, I'm an actor. I'm a Chicago theater actor. I listen. So yes, it makes sense. But yeah, I think that's just good acting, really. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Great question.
Yeah.
Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name's Rebecca.
Rebecca.
So I love your cosplay videos that you do.
Yeah.
And you said that you've been going to conventions and you dressed as Spock. So if you were to go to a convention as an attendee and walk the floor, if you could cosplay as any character besides Spike, who would you be?
Stormtrooper. Because then no one would know I was Spike. I could just like hang out and be a fan, you know?
That's cool.
Yeah. Or like Darth Maul would probably work. I don't think you'd catch me if I was Darth Maul. That would be fun. I'd love to be Darth Maul. Yeah. Boba Fett? Yeah, Boba Fett.
Yeah, I guess anything
yeah.
you can wear a mask.
Not
and
Jango Fett, Boba Fett. Yeah.
Thank
The
you.
original, yeah.
All right. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
So my name is Kelsey. My mom and I actually just got here right at the end of your photo op. Are you doing another one? She's right here in front. Huge fan.
No, I don't think I am, but if you come by the table and you have that ticket,
I do.
just we'll deal with it at the table. Katie? I think we can make that happen. It won't be professional. We could, come on. Katie, this is Katie. She's amazing.
Hi, Katie.
The question, someone missed a photo op, and can they come by the table and get a selfie?
I already have it arranged. So we will, oh my gosh, I'm not, welcome to Saturday Night Live. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, we will be taking James back to the photo op. If you missed it, we'll see you over there, okay?
Perfect.
Awesome.
If you want the truth, ask someone who knows
Round
the
of
truth.
applause, everybody. Look
Yeah.
at that. You ask and you shall receive. There you go.
Thank you.
She's going to kill me. Got her on stage. She's like a normal person. She's like, I don't need to be on stage, man. Like, fuck that. What's up?
My name's Brittany, and I have two questions for you. The first question is, in the episode of Once More with Feeling, did you actually sing your song, or was that someone voicing for you?
That was me, babe. Come on. That was all of us. That was the big argument about that episode, by the way. Like, Tony Head and I were comfortable singing publicly. But the rest of the cast were not professional singers. And they had a really good argument that they were being forced to do something that they weren't professional at in front of a like the world, and that their careers were going to be flushed down the toilet. Like, Sarah asked, can I juggle chainsaws instead of having to sing? Like, that would be safer for my career. And they had a good point, you know? But no, I think what happened was we used to have Shakespeare parties. We would get together and read Shakespeare. And I was that guy who brought his guitar to the party. You know, that guy? But it worked. So I would, and so I played some songs, and then other people would bring their instrument, or they had a piano there, and we would start playing piano, and we would start singing together. And at some point, they realized there was enough talent for singing in the cast that they could do a musical. But yeah, it was a fight to get some people to sing, frankly.
Your song is my favorite, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And then the second question that I have for you, could you give a little bit of more background of how you came to take on the role of Harry Dresden as the narrator of those books?
Man, I don't know why Jim Butcher... I think Jim Butcher, who writes those books, I think that he's a Buffy fan, because he has taste. And I think when he heard that I was not English and that was acting, he thought, hey, maybe he has the chops to... I want him to read the book. But I had never read a book before, and I thought it would be easy. No, it ain't easy. I was like, what, you just sit down and read a book and they pay you? Yeah, I'll do that. And what I realized was I was used to acting on stage where you get energy from the audience and you get energy from your fellow performers, and the energy is just pinging all around. And when I get off work from a play, I'm more energized after work than before work, right? When you do film, you don't have an audience to give you energy, but you have the other performers, we're bouncing energy between us. So it's not that tiring to film. It is, but not that tiring. When you do a book on tape, man, it's just a microphone. And it's just an energy black hole. And it sucks the life right out of you. And at the end of the day, 8 hours of reading, I just go home and I just like crawl into bed. I was like, this is a lot harder than I thought. So like the first day we went to lunch, and when I came back from lunch, the director was surprised. He was like, you TV actors, you usually go to lunch and I hear from your agent that you're not coming back. I'm so glad you actually came back. But yeah, I feel like I learned on the job. Like I was listening to books on tape, and I was getting offended. Like, I remember driving, and it was late at night, and I was listening to some book on tape, and the person goes like this. Literally, they go, and then he killed his best friend, sat down, and cried. And I was like, F you, man! And I just ejected the CD, and I threw it out, and I promised myself, if I ever do that job, I've got to read it like I care, you know? I'm not going to go slow and careful. I want it to sound like someone who's like, dude, you have got to hear what I've got to say. My God, this thing just happened to me. You're not going to believe it. Here we go. And like, go fast, go passionate. Don't be careful. Just jump off the cliff. And I quickly realized that there's a reason why they go slow and careful, is because you have to get a certain amount of pages per day, or else the boss gets really mad because you have to spend more time and money to get the thing done. And if you go slow and careful, you can actually get a lot more pages done. And the editor doesn't have to work so many days, and it's just cheaper. And I was just like, well, I get it that that's cheaper, but that's going to be terrible. So no. And so I was like, they're probably not going to have me back for the next book, but I'm going to try to make this as good as I can. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to make mistakes. The editor's going to have to earn their pay, and I just want to make it sound like I care. And luckily, I think the first book sold well enough that they were like, let's have James back. Fine, you know. But yeah, it's going pretty good.
Awesome. Thank you for your question. All right, hi.
Hello.
Hey, brother.
So my name's Quinn. I'm also a pretty big Dresden Files fan. I actually got into Buffy because of your involvement in Dresden Files. So I've always wondered, did you, to narrate Dresden, did you kind of channel your energy from Spike or kind of channel that character a little, or is that a more unique attachment to you?
That's the weird thing. Like the nice thing about Dresden is it's all accents that I'm familiar with, basically. They're all kind of Western European or American accents. And so I can do, like in a Dresden book, there might be 30 different kind of accents flying around. I've done other books where I've had to do like West African accents and all these like Chinese, Japanese, stuff that I would never get. Like, it's so weird when I prepare for those books, I'll be doing the dishes, you know, trying to get like a Chinese accent together, you know? You know how they sound like they do, you know, they sound like this. And my daughter's like, Dad, that's racist. You can't do that. I'm like, I'm preparing for a job, man. I don't care. I don't want to hear that crap, you know, so you got to be careful with that one. But that being said, it's interesting to me that I don't know that I've done a lower class English accent on Dresden, you know, because in England, if you talk like this, you're lower class and you can't get a cab and no one will pay attention to you. The cops will beat you up if they can, you know. But if you talk like this, of course, then you're from wealth and everyone kisses your, you know, backside and all that. And so it's very weird that all of the accents on Dresden, all these wizards and stuff, they're all upper class. And I haven't really done, I'd love to do a lower class, more Spike accent. I'd love that accent, but it just hasn't really been called for. So yeah. So write Jim a letter and say, we want a lower class guy. Yeah, give us some dirt.
Yeah, get on Reddit, make it happen, everybody.
What? Oh, Binder? I forgot. What book was that? It was, okay, so I've done it. Binder. Okay. Obviously, my memory is not perfect. Wow. Man. Right
Thank
on,
you
man.
so much for your question. All right, hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Celis. I'm a huge Smallville fan. I wanted to talk about your time playing Brainiac. What was it like working with Tom and Michael? Did you know anything about the character, and what did you want to bring to the character?
You know, when I got that role, you know, I play a robot, basically, an android, right? And I was like, how do you play a robot? And I started thinking about the different robots from different films and television that I thought were really tight. And I was thinking about Data. You know, I thought that Brent, he was obviously android, but he was also a very sophisticated android, and there's a human element to him and everything. And then I realized, like, no, actually, he's a Kryptonian robot. Mm-hmm. So the technology is going to be so advanced, it's probably going to be more like Blade Runner, where you can't tell the difference between a human being and him. So I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no technology. Just throw that out. Just play a human being. So don't just put that to the side. The delicious thing is that Tom Welling is very intelligent. If you ever meet him, you'll find out, right? Yep. And so he told the producers, don't tell me anything that Clark doesn't know. I don't want to have to act like I don't know what's going to happen. I want to not know what's happening. I want to go through this journey as Clark. Such a smart thing to do. It really is. Ever since I found out that he did that, I do the same thing ever since then. And other actors that I've told that to, they do it too. It's just a really good idea. So he didn't know that I was Brainiac. He just thought I was Milton Fine. He just thought I was his new dad or something. He thought we were going to be friends.
So his reaction was like pretty raw in the show.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And of course, I know that I'm the villain. I know that I'm Brainiac, and I'm just like, I'm gonna kill you, boy. I'm gonna rip you up. And he's just like, let's talk more about life, Dad. I'm like, sure thing, son. You know, oh my God, it was delicious, and it was real life. Yeah.
You did a great job, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
Great question.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. All right. Hi,
One
step
thing,
on up.
if I may. The thing that was frustrating was I was coming from Buffy, where when you do fight day is my favorite day. I love stunts, right? And on Buffy, it's all stunts. It's all you're just standing on concrete and you're just pummeling each other, and it's wonderful. And on Smallville, you come to fight day and Superman punches you, and that's it. That's fight day. And then there's like 3 days of computer special effects where you're flying around orbiting the Earth because he's punched you so hard that you're in orbit. And you come back after 3 days and you do the next fight day and you boom, you come back and you kick him and then he flies through the wall and they take Tom off for 3 days of special effects. And there's no real fights happening, you know. But it looks cool. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm doing great. My name is Yaev, and question for you: do you like jokes?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm the biggest joke there is, so yeah.
So what do you call a vampire's correspondence?
I don't know. What do you call a vampire's correspondence?
Fang mail. And then my question is, so speaking of fight day, how was your transition from Buffy going into Angel? And you did like a lot of stunts. You helped a transitional character do lots of stunts and all of that. So what was that transition like for you?
You know, it really felt like the same show. You know, it was the same directors, same stunt crew, same producers, same writers. I'd worked with David a lot. That wasn't different. The coffee wasn't as good, but we fixed that.
Because Angel was making the coffee.
No, I don't know why, but they just had some. They had bad coffee, so they're like, James, we're so glad that you're on the show. Is there anything we can do to make you comfortable? And I was just like, well, you know, on Buffy we have those single pod things. You get a fresh cup of coffee every time, and like when you have that coffee on the burner, I used to be a waiter, so I know this. By the way, this will help everybody. If you leave coffee on a burner for more than 20 minutes, it chemically goes acidic, and that's why coffee can give you a sour stomach. But if you take that off the burner, or if you always make something fresh, you can drink coffee all day long and there's no stomach ache. So just so you know. So I got them to get a better coffee situation going, and the crew loved me. They were just like, you gave us good coffee. Thank you so much. Yeah. I will say, like I said before, Buffy filmed up to 20 hours. Angel was a normal show. We filmed 12 hours, which to me felt like minimum day, you know. That was different. And then also, actually, it was so fun in the beginning of Buffy because, like, usually when you're a secondary character on a TV show, most of your lines are going to be like, what do you think of that, Buffy? Everyone get behind Buffy. Wait for Buffy. You know, good job, Buffy. That's basically your dialogue. I was that character that said, you're stupid. We're all going to die. You know? And that's just a fun place to be, right? And then I fell in love with her. And I was like, would you like a cup of tea, Buffy? Do you like me now, Buffy? Here, have my chair, Buffy. You know? And that was also very good. But I kind of missed being the fly in the ointment. And so when they brought me over to Angel and my whole job description was to give him a headache every single day, I was like, oh, yes.
What's new?
Oh, I'm back, you know? Yeah. I got a soul, but I still hate him. Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Live long and prosper.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for your question. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Emily. How are you? You've been on several of my favorite shows, and I'm just wondering if you had a behind-the-scenes story or anything that was one of your favorite times on a set that you could share.
Yeah, I remember on Buffy, so like Steve Tartaglia, who was the stunt Spike, he came from Hong Kong, where he was like the premier Caucasian actor / stunt performer for Hong Kong. And they don't have any laws for safety in Hong Kong. Like, he showed me his reel, like a reel is like a video of all your cool stuff that you get work off of. So he shows me his reel, and it's just one scene, and it's him fighting on like, you know, when they recondition buildings, they have like the little lattice work, get the worker scaffolding, right? So they're fighting on scaffolding, and they are kicking each other up and falling through, hanging off the side, and and they're just going slowly down the scaffolding, and there's no wires, there's no safety harnesses, there's nothing. If they fall, they're dead, and they're constantly falling off, grabbing on, and I about threw up. I was just like, oh God, Steve, that's horrifying. He's like, yeah, isn't it great, you know? So, like, I was able to do more stunts than most actors because I came from theater where you don't get a stunt man. And he was willing to do stuff that other stuntmen were never going to be willing to do. And I will just remember this one time, he was taking a medium fall, which is probably, I don't know, a little taller than that. It's enough to hurt yourself. And the initial thing was that he was going to be on grass, which is basically a piece of cake. So normal night. At the last minute, because of the camera angle, they had to move him over toward the concrete. And they didn't move him all the way onto the concrete, which is also doable. They put him on the curb.
Oh, Jesus.
He had to fall on the curb from there, right? And all Steve did, he goes, yeah, okay. Yeah, you got a little bush? And I'm just staring at him, and they're like, yeah, we got a little bush. And the groundskeepers came out with a little bush. They put it on the curb. He's like, let's go. And I was just like, dude.
That's awesome.
That's Steve. He's a maniac. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question. All right, we got our last two questions here. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Rachel. My question is, who was your favorite character to interact with as Spike?
Giles. See, Tony Head taught me so much about film acting. Stage acting, I was very proud of the toolkit that I had learned. It took me decades to learn the tools necessary to not suck on stage. It takes a lifetime. And I was very proud. By the time I got down to Los Angeles, I'd done 100 plays. I'd produced 30 plays. I directed more than 10 plays. I was firmly of the belief that there are actors doing theater and there are people who want to be stars down in Hollywood. And I had no respect for people down in Hollywood. And the thing is, on stage, your face is this big, right? No one can see your eyes. So it's all about pushing your inner thought life way out in expressiveness so that people way back there can tell what you're thinking, you know? And the camera doesn't need that. The camera's as close as a lover. It can see what you're thinking. And so it's an entirely different toolkit. And I didn't clock that yet. And I remember watching my first few episodes and realizing very quickly that I was getting away with some overacting because I was a vampire. It was working, but it was too much. And I was filming with the cast of Buffy, and while we were filming, I was like, you people are boring me, man. You guys, it seems like you don't care. You're just kind of shuffling around, go home. But then when I watched the show, I realized that they were the only people that were believable, really. And I was like, I've got to go back to school. And obviously, the best actor on Buffy was Tony Head. And so I went to the school of Tony Head. He didn't even know, by the way. I would just come to work when I wasn't even in the scene and sit on a little apple box and watch him. And mostly watch what he was not doing. And how much I could barely hear him. And how simple, he was just being very simple and very real. And I think he saved me. I think if he hadn't been on that show, they probably would have killed me off because it was too much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, we have our final question. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Allison. So, my question, my mom and I have been watching Buffy. It's taken us like 4 years, and we still have 2 episodes left.
There's a lot, right?
Yeah, and we also kind of suck with time management skills. But, so my question is, and I'm risking it all for the biscuit. As Spike, can you please ruin the last 2 episodes of Buffy for me right now? Please. Please. I need it.
Why?
If anybody is going to ruin, I've gone this far without spoilers, and like, it's an old show. And I've gone this far without knowing what happens in the last 2 episodes. But like, when am I gonna have another chance to have it ruined for me by my favorite character?
We worked so hard to give you a journey and an emotional impact and an experience that will help your life. Like what we were saying is, it's hard to be a human being. The world is harsh sometimes. It hurts sometimes, but it's worth it. Keep going. Don't give up. That's what the whole thing is about. And so the whole thing, there's a candy shell of vampires and stunts and all of that, and it makes it makes it very delicious. But at the center of it is this very beautiful truth, right? And I would not want to ruin that for you. I want you to have the journey. So I can't. We work too hard to do that, and it's still possible. But what I will say,
yes,
you're going to cry.
Of course.
Okay? And then after you cry, check out Angel Season 5.
Angel Season 5.
And
okay.
then it'll all be better.
Okay, since you won't ruin it for me, which I appreciate, that was a really good answer. Instead, as Spike, please, can you please just tell me eyeballs to entrails, my sweet?
Eyeballs to entrails, my sweet. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's so easy to make people happy when you've been on television.
Thank you so much for your question. And this will be our final question right over here.
Oh, heck yeah.
We can't say no. Come on.
Yeah.
What's up, dude?
How hard is it to play a vampire?
That's a really good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before, actually. That's a really good question. It's kind of weird, like, because when I'm acting, I'm trying to be honest. And if you really are going to be honest, and you're going to be going out, you're playing a character who's going out in the middle of the night and ripping innocent people to shreds, it's a little hard to get my mind around. Because I was playing a character that was having a blast killing innocent people. So, you know, like, you could kind of fluff over that and just be like, oh, I'm just having fun. Or you could really try to dig into it and make it real, which is what you should be trying to do. So, like, in the beginning, I was kind of like on the couch going, could I do that? Is that part of me? Could I admit to myself that could be fun? So, I had just come off of doing a Macbeth in Seattle that was really successful. And Macbeth is a play about a soldier who is really good at his job. He's like the toughest guy in Scotland. He like takes a sword and rips people in half in one stroke and everything. And so to prepare for that role, I had done research into the psychology of soldiers. And what I read was, this gets kind of serious, but it's a really good question, so I'm gonna answer it as honestly as I can. So what I read was that soldiers come back from war with a big guilt. Because what happens, apparently, when you kill someone in war, there is this euphoria. There is this really fun thing that, like, it's actually really fun. And it's a biological reaction. It's the animal within us. Part of it is just, you and I met, one of us was going to walk away, and it's me. I'm surviving, and you don't. So it's the joy of living through that. It's also probably part of a predator thing. It may be the feeling that a lion has when they take out a gazelle. You know, there's something very animal and like, that was awesome. So soldiers come back from war, and unless they get help and they get someone to talk to them about this, they can think that it's only them. And they can think that they're a bad person, when in fact they're just a human being. So, I had read that it is pleasurable to do that, to kill somebody. And I was like, well, I'm just doing it a lot. You know, like I already got past a little bit of a hump by playing a soldier, Macbeth, who, he didn't really enjoy it that much, but it didn't bother him. It's his job. You know, how's your day at work? Oh, I killed a lot of people. What's for lunch, you know? And so I was already kind of halfway there. But it was a little bit of a challenge, I'll be honest. It was a little bit of a challenge. And again, it's because I was trying to do it for real. Yeah. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Right on. Great question.
Great question. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone for all of your questions. And that's our time here. James, you've been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so very much. One more time, big round of applause.
Guys,
for
I
James
love you.
Marsters,
Thank you so
everybody.
much, man.